Whether you're working to increase the economic mobility from poverty as the executive director of a nonprofit, head of a foundation, policymaker or policy advocate, journalist or community leader, we know we're in this work with the same end goal: to find, to create, to invest in, to build, to ensure, to fortify, to protect pathways for families to move out of poverty for good. Strategies and solutions to change the state of poverty and the face of poverty for good. Today, you've heard both about the systemic challenges we face, which have been both highlighted and exacerbated by the dual crises of 2020, and the solutions that we can collectively pour into. What we turned to in our last conversation of the day is the how. How do we make sure that those solutions we coalesce around, invest in, drive policy change to manifest, are those solutions that will work? How do we make sure that there's the solutions that will stick? Well, we must seek, value, and most importantly, move on the expertise of leaders who have been most impacted by the issues we're seeking to solve. Those leaders with the knowledge and perspective that comes from being of the communities, bearing the impact of the challenges. Now, this sounds like common sense, but let's for a moment just take philanthropy as one example. Philanthropy, a sector that's in the business of working to solve the biggest challenges of our nation. A nation where, still today, being a person of color is one of the strongest predictors of your life outcomes across every measure of social and economic well-being, from academic achievement to child welfare, to credit access, to economic development, education, health, incarceration, to income, to life expectancy, to juvenile justice, to mortality, to real estate ownership, to your likelihood of being killed by the police, to wealth accumulation. Yet, while over the past 2 decades, philanthropic giving overall has skyrocketed by nearly 400%, only about 10% of those dollars have gone to organizations led by people of color. Not only is this yet another example of how systemic racism plagues every aspect of our American life, and certainly in no place more so than in the fight for economic justice, it's also downright nonsensical. If you've lived it, you know it. You know the solutions that will work for the communities you're a part of. You know the solutions that will stick. Now, it's important I acknowledge that for organizations, companies, government agencies, media firms, any and all of us that have not been oriented this way historically, that making a shift to true participatory engagement, where those most impacted by the outcomes of the work are at the forefront of setting the strategy for and executing on the work, takes work. It's exactly what we are experiencing as we go through this, urgently and humbly, here at Robin Hood. And it has to start with true, honest reflection about where you've been, what your organization values, its systems, its culture. And then not simply the intentionality to make the change, but also the true commitment and dedication of the time and the real resources to do so. It is in no way a shift that can happen overnight. At the same time, it's been no more important to make that shift than in the wake of 2020, as we've watched the ground shift in real time under the feet of our most under-resourced and historically marginalized communities. That's why I am so excited for our next panel. Today, we've brought together leaders from across sectors to talk about how participatory practices can help us make a greater impact, in a conversation moderated by our friend Kaya Henderson. But first, let's hear from 2 people who are putting these principles into practice in their work every day.